Okay, this time, perhaps, for sure. Hey everybody, welcome to the show. I am a little discombobulated today. I did not really realize it was already time already. I've been running a little, what's the word? I don't want to say behind schedule, but uh, like behind. I'm running behind a lot. I'm trying to catch up with everything. I've been doing this ritual for the last couple of weeks for the creating a prosperous life thing for 2025, and it has been really nice. I've had a lot of things manifest for me. I've had some problems that I was originally trying to fix with this become just vanish and become immediately solved with things that were in process before I even was aware of it. Like things that I thought I had screwed up ended up being reversed in the past. So good news for me there. But also, like, one of the things I asked for as part of this ritual was how to get to a place where I was making a certain amount of money a year, $325,000 a year. And a lot of what that takes turns out to be organization and taking advantage of opportunities and resources if you've already got stuff going. A lot of what I have to do is fine-tuning and honing and preparing and planning and scheduling and drafting and reconfiguring and resetting and redoing everything basically, so that it's more streamlined and moving towards where I want to be rather than away from where I want to be, right? A lot of the things I get into are distracting, as it were. But yeah, so things have been moving quite a bit, and one of the things I was taking a look at as part of this whole replanning and restructuring and everything was sort of how I got here. Like my path to, I mean, where I'm at right now is great. I'm not gonna lie, and I talk about how great I have it all the time, and I realized, like, when I was doing this assessment. So part of where I need to go next is figure out where I'm at. What do I have going for me? What do I need to do with it? Where am I at with my plans? Do I need to remake plans? But it came to my attention that I spend a lot of time talking about how cool I have it and how great things are. And I think I worry that I come across as braggadocio. I'm always like talking up myself and how great things are and how wonderful my life is and all that stuff. But the reason I'm like that uh, is because I take it for granted that everybody pays attention to me all the time, right? And has for years, right? So I think everything I've done and everything I've ever been like, right? And you've seen my whole transition and transformation in public, because I've done it all in public. And if you go back and research and search for Rufus Opus, you can see me at my highs and my lows over the last few years, since about 2006, 2008. We started getting more public with everything. So yeah, so if you wanted to see like the rise and fall of a magician over some time, you can totally see my history. But like right before, like back in 2020, I was at a big transition point in my life. I had been drinking for years, and it had gotten way out of control, and I'd let it slip out of control. I had some life events happen. The person I was with had cancer, and I was like all drinking about that, or I thought I was. Really, what I was drinking about is because I was pretty miserable, right? And I used the circumstances of my life to justify what I was drinking about, right? But there was always excuses, and we can talk about that some other time. But like I was in some serious alcoholic fugue, whatever going on. But my liver failed, fortunately, and it didn't fail all the way. It recovered since then, but my eyes were turning yellow, and I had it. I was losing everything. Like I was spiraling towards the drain. So. When my eyes got jaundiced, I finally decided it was time to go to the doctor and get cleaned up and sobered up and everything. So I go into the hospital. They put me on pills for 3 days, and I came out of it. I had been drinking so long. I'd been trying to quit for like 2 years, but every time I started to quit, I started to shake, and it scared the crap out of me because I read about how you could die of heart attacks. You know, it's dangerous to quit drinking cold turkey. So I was afraid to do it, and I didn't want everybody to know and all that. It was typical. It's absolutely textbook alcoholic crap. So I had to check myself in because I was dying. So I checked myself in. I had them get me clean and sober, right? And I'd been trying to quit. I wanted to quit, and the only thing that was stopping me was the shakes. So now I got past the shakes. I was like, fine, I'm not drinking anymore. Now, I went home, and my family was all sitting there waiting for me on the couch, and they were all going to have a big conversation with me about all this stuff. And I found out later that my ex had been telling my family basically that we were all gonna that basically not to expect much from this, and it was all going to fail, but they had to do the conversation anyway, but not to really expect me to quit drinking, and to just have this be like a step in the process, you know. But I haven't drank since then. I've been sober since April 10th, 2020. I have not had a drink. I think I had one drink since then. It was like and it was like a couple of weeks, I think, after I quit drinking, you know, after I went into the hospital. Like, I got out and I was like, well, maybe it's the, you know, and I don't know why. I just wanted to see what would happen. It was entirely an experiment. But I took a drink, and I just like, I threw up immediately. I was like, oh, this is awful. And I couldn't take it. And anyway, I didn't want to, I've never had any more to drink since then. I don't really count that because, anyway, I haven't drank. I stayed sober, but that was fairly typical of what was going on at the time. And when I sobered up, I realized that my life had fallen apart, and my ex was about to become my ex because of reasons, and my family had come to treat me a certain way as a result of my behavior for the last few years. But basically, I had it pretty bad. It was COVID had just hit. The pandemic had hit. My company had laid me off. I was between jobs. I'd been between jobs for about 6 months by the time I started getting my stuff together. I had nothing saved. I had been giving my money away to the Ordo Templi Orientis and various other places. I didn't need a lot of money, so I just basically was giving my money to other people. I was drinking a lot and making foolish decisions. But when I left that relationship, I ended up with enough money to get a place to stay and furniture. And I did that, right? But I didn't have a job. I was on unemployment. Unemployment was paying my rent, and I was living with my kids. They had jobs, and they were helping me cover the rent. They were 18 and 19 then. There was no college at the time because of the pandemic. It just wasn't working, you know. And I couldn't get a job, right? And I was just like, I had it so bad. And I lost all my friends, you know, like I was part of the Ordo Templi Orientis. I had gotten kicked out of that when I was drinking because in my alcoholic stupor, I had the foolish, I made the foolish decision to say what I thought. And I still stand by what I said when I was drinking. I think I would have said it a lot sooner and left on a lot cleaner terms much sooner if I hadn't been drinking. But because I was drinking, I made a lot of bad decisions, like staying in the OTO for way too long. Anyway, another conversation to be had at some point. Yeah, so I was starting over from scratch. I had nothing. I had no job. I had no money. I'd spent all the money I had gotten all the savings I had when I started off over again was gone getting my house set up. My kids were okay. They were working. They were just my youngest was about to graduate from high school, and all this stuff was they were in a position where they were okay, you know. And we had unemployment to cover the bills, but it was just. It was horrible, right? My mind, when you quit drinking, if you've been drinking for as long as I had and as much as I had, your brain chemistry changes. And physiologically, I was not functioning. Like I couldn't think straight, and I thought I was thinking straight, but also I was mentally ill, and I have cyclotrithemia, right? It's a form of bipolar. It's not the worst bipolar, but it's a kind of bipolar. But it's crappy to live with. My brain spins. I can't think straight. But after I quit drinking, part of the drinking was self-medication, and it slowed down my brain enough to function. But when I quit drinking, I had to deal with my mental illness. All the symptoms came back that I had been suppressing. Not only that, the alcohol had dissolved most of my personality traits. I was left with just this self-pitying lack of character, this void of character where my heart, my courage, and my will to expand my experiences in this universe had all been dissolved and been replaced with this feeling of self-pity that was basically just I didn't think it was fair. I didn't think it was fair that I had to suffer, that bad things happened to good Josh, poor Josh, such a good Josh, did not deserve any of the bad things. Oh, he should drink, right? So that's basically what it boiled down to. But yeah, so when I sobered up, I had to learn how to do everything again. So when I talk about how good I have it now, I'm talking about how amazed I am. It's coming from a place of absolute, amazement. It's not coming from bragging. I'm just like shocked that this worked. I am happy. I'm excited about it, but also like I see a lot of people suffering in the world, and you don't have to suffer. You don't have to, right? We know how the universe works, and we can do things about it. When you are broken, like I was, if you are in a place where you're broken or you're drinking or whatever, you can get out of it, and then you can rebuild your life. And that's what I did. So like, I want to, when I was at the bottom, like my mind wasn't working enough to get a job really. Like I couldn't even get my resume together to submit it to things. I couldn't plan that far in advance because my brain was spinning so fast. I had just gotten on the right meds that I needed to be on. I had just gotten into therapy. I was an emotional wreck because my relationship had fallen apart while I was drinking. Everything had gone to crap with my ex. And she had been my emotional support for years, what emotional support I had in my life. And that was gone, and not only that, but she was mad at me, right? And for reasons, valid reasons, whatever. But like things were gone. I didn't have anything. My kids were 18 and 19. One had just tried to go to college and during the pandemic and had dropped out because it was just too terrible. It was too awful, and it was just a joke. And it was an expensive joke. So he was like, nope. And he's trying to figure out what he wants to do. My other kid was maybe graduating, right? And during the pandemic, and it's like we weren't even sure if they were going to graduate and all this stuff. But anyway, after all that stuff finally kind of settled down, I was in this house full of people who were trying to figure out what they were doing, wanting to figure out what they were trying to do. They were both mad at me because senior year of high school I decided to quit drinking, and I'd screwed up my life so bad. They had no respect for me. They wouldn't listen to me. They wouldn't participate with me in rebuilding our life because they were trying to figure out what they were doing, and they didn't have the skills to do it, and they didn't know what to do. And as long as I was there, I was making things worse, right? And I figured this out pretty quickly. Like I couldn't get my crap together because I needed structure and to be able to do the same things every day. And I'm living with it in basically a flop house with some teenagers. And I'm 46. I was like 46 years old or something like that. And I'm living with these 18-year-olds. I'm trying to get my brain back together. I'm sobering up. I'm trying to deal with life kind of raw while I'm getting all my crap together. And I've got these kids who won't do their laundry, we're just like doing all the teenage things that I did when I was a teenager. When I was finally out on my own, I didn't have to listen to my parents anymore. And they were making more money than I was. It's not like I could tell them what to do with the bills either, right? So it's like I was like in a really bad situation with no authority, and I'd pissed away any respect I'd had. It's all back to normal now, by the way. My kids eventually forgave me. We all got our heads on straight and everything, but it took a while, Specifically what it took for me was my wife. All right. So in the midst of this darkness, right, I didn't know what I was going to do, but I'm trying to come to terms with everything. And I did a ritual. I asked for light to come in and purify my life. You know, I was just called out to whatever God was in my despair and asked for a way out. You know, I get a message from someone I'd known for 10 years, a woman who'd been a friend of mine or an acquaintance anyway, for 10 years. I had been friends off and on, but like I kept female acquaintances at a distance on purpose while I was in a relationship, because you don't, the women in the occult they are just like the women everywhere else. And you know, I see guys, they get into these conversations with girls, and then the girls start talking about how bad they have it with their partner, and the guys feel sorry for them, and then they get into this thing. Next thing you know, they're in this online relationship with somebody, and I've done it myself several times across my life. Not anymore, not lately, but you get sucked into this online drama stuff with these girls, and it's anyway, it's toxic. It's not healthy. Anyway, it's not good. So anyway, I put boundaries up around all that stuff, and I wasn't going to be doing that stuff anymore. But I had kept, you know, my current wife at a distance, and we'd talked off and on. I'd encourage her about her work in public and stuff, but not really anything private. And we both happened to, she broke up with her partner at the time, like a couple months before I broke up, or we were single at the same time. And she reaches out to me, and she's like, "Hey, you know, we're both single." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know, but you know, you're a lovely person, but I don't know that we're, you know, the age difference is going to be a thing," because it was kind of a thing, right? And it was like, you know, and I had all these problems. I was like, "I've got all these problems. I don't want to bring this to you." And she said, "You know what? For 10 years, I've watched you, and I would like you to." I would like you to hear what I have to say. And she said some things to me, and they're very nice things, and they helped me see myself in a different way, and also to see her in a different way. That helped me understand some things that I'd also experienced spiritually. Like I had a vision when I was 11 that turned out she was a part of, right, before she was even born. Like there's some coincidences that seem to align, that point to these strange, mysterious past life things, you know. But all that aside, you know, in this life, we had some real social things to talk about and address and everything. And when we got together, it was, like I said, I was in a bad situation, you know. Shortly after I moved out here, so we decided to get, you know, I moved out here to get my head on straight, to get away from the toxic situation I was in, and you know, clean myself out and have more opportunities for work and all that stuff, and also to be with the person that I fell in love with, right? I mean, I fell in love with her right away, and it was wonderful, and it was you know, it was good timing. And I had been broken up from my ex for a while, and I'd been through like this real brief rebound relationship and all this stuff, so it wasn't like I was just trying to whatever, fill in the blanks or whatever. But like I was starting to get my crap together, and she comes into my life, and we started talking, and I was able, you know, so my father passed like right after that. My dad died, and I didn't even have enough money to get to the funeral, and she actually offered to pay for me and my kids to fly out to see my dad get buried, you know. And it was like, you know, I probably could have come up with the money some other way, but I don't know if I could have gotten my kids to go, you know. So it's like, at the time that I needed someone the most, and I asked for help from the universe, I got this experience with this wonderful person that manifested in my life. And she did, like when we got together, I was under cross conditions. I was cursed from, I had just gotten out of the OTO with smoke coming off my eyebrows, you know. I had upset several magicians. I had a falling out with Aaron Leach, a Solomonic magician of note, I guess, over some Facebook crap, you know. And like, anyway, I was under some cross conditions. I will put it that way. Couldn't get a job. Every time I applied for a job, I got the job. I went through the interview. I would get hired, and then the funding would get cut, or the project would get canceled, or the manager would quit, or one thing after another. It was just all these terrible coincidences, right? Like, it was obvious I was cursed, and I couldn't figure out what's going on. So she does this massive uncrossing rite with me, right? And we did this big uncrossing, uncrossing rite where we did, like, put everything that was negative coming at us in a mirror box and buried it in a graveyard somewhere where it would die. And then we moved on with our lives and filled it up. And then she did this huge prosperity rite. And it's funny because, like, because she's, a young woman in the occult community, her ex and other people of anyway, people have said poor things about her. They have her and they hold her in poor regard, and they're like, one of her exes said that she was lucky to be with someone like me because my magic was so powerful, and I was like putting our life together, and all this stuff was because of me, but I want to point out to people that I was so screwed up when we got together. I couldn't rub two sticks together. You know what I mean? Like, the best I could do was ask for help from the universe, and she came into my life and she did the magic for me. And the idea that I am more powerful than any other magician on earth or anybody who is doing magic is so stupid. Okay? Magicians aren't more powerful than one another. We know our spirits better. We know how it works better. We use our magic better than other people. The same way that, like, some drivers are better drivers than other drivers. Anybody can learn how to drive. I think anybody can learn how to do magic. I don't think everybody will. I think some people are going to be called to it and some people won't. But the idea that people are more powerful than others, I think that from what I've seen, it's completely false. And regardless, even if I'm wrong, my wife is a powerful witch, and everybody should know that. And I'm very proud of being with a powerful witch, right? So she did some really great magic. It helped save me, turn my life around, helped form the foundation for me to start getting healthy and get my crap together. So I wanted to take a moment and just be like, my wife is cool. Anyway, and kind of like explain that's why I'm so, like, into her, right? When I talk about how great it is to be with her, number one, I'm a Taurus, right? I'm ruled by love, but also if you see me promoting my wife, it's not just because she's beautiful, it's because she's awesome, right? And really, I super appreciate her. So anyway, we did this uncrossing rite, right? And then she did a prosperity rite, and I've talked about that a few times. I'll probably talk about it again some other time. But like, the way that she does it is particularly really well done. And then I got this job at CGen, right? Where Pfizer came in and bought CGen, and then I got this huge windfall, and now life is really good because over like the last 3 years, everything has sort of gone our way. Yeah, so, like, that's my backstory. So when I talk about how great things are going, it's because I set my whole life on fire, right? I really did. Like, I doused it in ethanol, and then I ignited it from a distance. I threw matches at it until it caught on fire, and then when everything was burned, I took the ashes and I ground them into the dirt. I mean, that's sort of like, that's how I feel like I did, and that's important. It's important that you know that about me for you to understand why I'm so excited about how when things go well. And also, I'm kind of people are like, why are you so humble, Josh? Because I'm an idiot, right? I screw up a lot. But the spirits help me out. And that's why I'm always like, you guys, we can do all this stuff. We can do all this stuff. This is great. This is great. It's because a fool like me has managed to turn their life around with the power of magic, with the assistance of my wife, of course, but with the power of magic. Reaching out to the light and asking for help gets you the help that you need if you accept it, if you respond to it. I mean, when she reached out to me, I could have said no. I could have said, oh, this isn't going to work. I could have been like, oh, this is silly. All the reasons not to do it existed. But the reason to do it anyway was because it felt right. You know, you really got to learn how to trust your gut. You know, and when that's all you got left is your intuition, you might as well go for it. And when you got nothing to lose, you can just go for it. Anyway, all right, so let's see. Cody, you don't come across that way. I love it. Almost, yeah, exactly. And then let's see. More everything talisman success. Excellent air travel. Slipped through boarding. Missed a blizzard. Had a peaceful visit with him. Oh, good stuff. Nice. Congratulations on that. I'm glad to see that, Keegan. Let's see. What stopped you from connecting with the spirits for clarity or guidance through that rough patch? I talked to him the whole time. I asked the spirits for help with quitting drinking. Right? And I would have all these opportunities to quit drinking come my way, and I would not take them. I would ignore them. I would get scrying sessions, information telling me what I needed to do differently, and I would not do it. I would ask the spirits to help heal me and get me through things and make up for the things that I was screwing up as I was going along, and they did. They helped me. I was a master alcoholic magician. I was really good at doing magic as an alcoholic. The spirits are not here to run your life for you. They don't tell you to get sober if you're drinking too much. They don't care. You're the boss of your life. We get to choose what we put in our mouth most of the time. You know? We don't have to drink. We don't have to eat the extra food that puts on the extra weight. We decide most of the time what we put in our mouth, and most of the time not as well what we let come out of it, right? We're the boss. You know, this is the part that nobody wants to hear. You know, why did if you're a powerful magician, how did the spirits let you? Because they respected my incarnation. They respected my sovereignty. They respected my true will to do what I will, which is the whole of the law. They know it, I know it, and they're here to help. My motto is, life is hard, magic helps. Magic doesn't live your life for you. God isn't going to come in and be like, well, let's just fix everything. No, God already came into you and is like, let's live and see what happens. What are we going to do with this one? You know, I was watching this video where someone was telling Drew Barrymore, what if we pretended that every time you were born, you're given one human that you have to take care of your whole life, and you're responsible for that human. As soon as you leave your parents, and the rest of your life, you have to take care of this human. Now, what if that was you? You know, and it's like, yeah, that is you, and that is shocking to people to think about it that way. And it's us. We're here to take care of ourselves, and if the universe wanted to take care of us for us, we wouldn't need an ego. It wouldn't hurt our feelings so bad to be alive if we let the gods do it for us, if they wanted to do it for us. But they're already doing their God things. They got a life. You got a life. You're in charge of you. You're the one that takes care of your human, and you're the human you're taking care of, right? And they'll help. They won't do any of that. So, Julian, I guess the answer is what stopped me from connecting to the spirits for clarity? Me. I stopped me. I did this to me, you know? And that's what it is. You argue for your limitations and they're yours. I was convinced that life wasn't fair because I had to work for things, right? And I had to quit drinking. It wasn't going to quit drinking for me. The alcohol wouldn't stop putting itself in my mouth. And I'm like, oh, poor me. Oh. That's all it is, you know? Oh, I'm gonna shake. Oh. Whatever, dude. You know, it is what it is. All right. So anyway, I wanted to first of all tell everybody that my wife is cool and that I think she's awesome. But also I want to talk about how this thing kind of works, right? So like why I'm so into the positive creation stuff. Right. So when I was drinking, when I was so into my darkness, I wasn't doing anything. I was reacting and I was responding. I was waiting for other people to do things. My ex was in the OTO and was making mover and shaker, and I would do support role stuff, and I was happy to do that. Whatever. I just waited for someone to tell me what to do, and I would go around and get drunk and say what I thought, you know. And that was my thing, but I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't creating anything. Prior to that, I had written 7 Spheres. I had come up with a method of magic. I'd started doing online courses when it wasn't very cool. I mean, I started charging $125 for a course instead of like $10, $25, $12 or stuff like that, because I knew what I was teaching was worth it. I was taking these classes from IT stuff, and I was like, this is $125. Why wouldn't an occultist teach for this? People didn't used to charge as much as they charged before I came along, and I made it cool to make money on this stuff. Not really. A lot of people were doing that before me, but I had stuff going for me before I joined the OTO. And then I joined the OTO, and I wasted like 7 years. It was I stopped doing things for myself, and I started doing things for the order, for the egregore or whatever, for my ex, all that stuff. I was doing stuff for other people. Right? So of course I sunk into self-loathing, self-despair, because I wasn't creating anything. The other day yesterday I posted on my Facebook thing about how I got this sense that we're in a world that is a little discordant, right? Like we know that there's something that's not right. And if you look at the Divine Pymander, it says the pleroma, the infinite light of the Nuos, contracted itself away from itself and created a smoking part in the light where the elements could exist. And then the soul of man descended into that, and there's all these spirits, and we've got the spirit of nature, Hecate, and we've got the 7 governors above and the 7 governors below, and all that stuff shows up. But first there was a contraction of the perfection away from itself, so it was no longer entirely perfect. Right. So if we look at our daily lives, we've got let's just take Putin and Zelensky, right? Right out of the headlines, we've got 2 people. Zelensky was he's basically Seinfeld. He's Ukrainian Seinfeld who got elected, and then we've got Putin, who is like, I really think Lenin could have done better. He has a good start, but we could do better with a little bit of effort. So like, anyway, these 2 guys are like fighting for the wheat in Eastern Europe, and it's personality, and it's fight, right? Which one is good? Which one is evil? Who's dark? Who's light? Who's defending what? What is righteous and what is not? This is the kind of thing that's going on in the world. This is 2 people representing 2 countries fighting for resources, and it's millions of people are getting bombed, killed, stressed out. They can't sleep. Guys were trying to get laid before this happened, and they aren't getting laid. They're getting shot. That's not what they wanted. This is not what they incarnated, perhaps, maybe, or maybe it is, I don't know. But the thing is we've got some crap going on where people are suffering and having a bad time of it on all sides. Whether you're fighting for the comedian or you're fighting for the strong man, whatever, you're not having a good day if you're involved in all that stuff. So where's this bad time come from? Everybody fighting that war wanted to have sex, wanted to have a good meal, wanted to go to sleep, wanted to have a little bit of money left over to play, wanted to create something in the morning, and instead, they're all out there dying. What happened? What went wrong? You know what I mean? So that's the core discord that I'm talking about. We don't want to do all this bull crap. But we do it instead of what we want to do. Why? That's why I drank. There's this discord at what I want to do, I do not do, Paul says, right, in the Bible. It's something we struggle with. You want to do good, but I don't do good. I want to meditate every day. I don't do my mantra. I missed my mantra yesterday. I'm doing mantra in public with people, being held accountable for it, and I didn't do it yesterday. What the fuck? That's not what I wanted to do. I still screw up. I used to drink about that. I don't drink about that anymore. Now I just get stoned and laugh about it. But it's less destructive. yeah, the discrepancy, the discord, right? There's something that had to be off a little bit for us to be able to exist, according to the Corpus Hermeticum. I like that theory. I think it makes sense because every evil that we experience, someone has to let happen, right? It's there. There's a potential for evil in every moment, but somebody has to decide to say the bad thing. They have to give in to the intrusive thoughts. They have to agree to do the bad thing to the other person, to harm them for your own pleasure, to take something that's not that you didn't make because it's easier than making it for yourself, right? To take the food out of the child's mouth because the child doesn't have much of a life to lose anyway. Look, it's only a couple of years. I've got 47 years I'm going to be losing. You know, it's real easy to do the wrong thing. Super easy to let the evil out, you know, and sometimes the only option is evil, and you're like, well, is it going to be greater evil or lesser evil? Ooh, you know, it is absurd. It is an absurd game that we play with all this stuff. In real life, what we can do is we can be born, build and experience and do and speak and interact with people, and then die without all that suffering if we all choose not to let it out, right? We're not all going to do that. But the thing is we could do it, right? I think that our infinite self, Zeus Ho Pantocrator, Zeus the all in all, that created everything, the infinite source, I think it was bored as crap being one, and it had to have something, an outlet for us to exist. If we accept existence, we have to accept the potential for evil to slip out at any moment, right? But we can choose not to. And what makes up for that, the fact that evil exists, is that we get to not do it. And we can choose to stand against it, to create something fun. We don't have to suffer, right? Suffering isn't fair. Suffering isn't cool. It's not right. It's not just. It's not okay. It's not acceptable. What does that mean? It means we have to fight against it, right? And that's hard, but it's hard to go through life suffering every day too. So, I mean, either way, you got to work. I would rather suffer the indignities of having to create something than suffer the indignities of having somebody else's creation cause me pain. That's just how I am. I'm stubborn and I'm selfish and I don't care anymore about that kind of thing. The darkness in this world, people let it out. You know, this is something that I just said, you know, we don't have to, and I always choose to focus on the good because I've come from a dark place. But I came from a dark place that was created by dark people making dark choices because it's easier to let the darkness out than it is to do the right thing. And they took advantage of me, and they harmed me. They took advantage of my alcoholism. They took advantage of my poor choices, and they got themselves to a place, and when I was no longer a support to that, they got rid of me. They harmed me. They created a harmful environment that made me no longer be a part of it, right? This happened to me in several different organizations, groups, people that I was associated with, friendships, relationships. It happened. Dark people were taking advantage of my corrupt mind, my corrupt acts, to benefit from it without having to do work on their own. Okay? And that's fine. That's what we do. You know? I don't care. It's part of life. I didn't have to participate in that. Okay? I did. I did participate in it, but I didn't have to. It was my choice. And I don't anymore. Right? And the way I break that wheel of samsara is I don't anymore. I don't worry about it. All those people are living their lives and they're doing the best they can according to their rules. In their opinion, they're the heroes. I don't care. It's not my life. My life is in the Pacific Northwest, and I get to have coffee, and I get to have my wonderful wife and my dog and my walks, and all this other stuff is going my way. The more I let them, that darkness from the past, and infiltrate and destroy my present, the less I'm spending time creating things. How do we get rid of that? So this is the thing that we can do is if we go back to what we could be doing, what I think we incarnated to do is to create an experience that's not just being part of everything. It's not boring, right? And it can be good or it can be bad. But when you're creating something good, the darkness doesn't have an opportunity to come out. If you're already saying something positive, you're not waiting for something negative to occur to you. If you're waiting, something negative is going to come out. If you're actively doing something, you're producing something, right? What is action in the tarot? It's fire. It's the wands. Fire is action. It's your dew. It's Mars. It's activity. It's motion, right? It's fire. Fire produces light and heat. It emanates. It projects. That's your actions. When you're emanating, you're not receiving, right? I'm not saying that being receptive is always wrong. You have to be receptive, otherwise you don't have anything, you don't have any energy to emanate, right? You have to get your energy too. You have to be balanced. But you can't live your whole life not creating things. If you're not creating things, your time, your energy, your effort, right? So if you think of yourself as like the battery from the Matrix, or if you think of yourself as like a god that was put on the planet to rule over certain powers and do a job that was necessary to keep everything going, if you see it that way and you're not doing it, that power that you have to be doing your job is going to be used by someone else. All right, I've been talking lately about billionaires because they're obvious. They're obvious. The billionaires have set up the system to suck your time into their pleasure, right? That's why we have 40-hour-a-week jobs while AI could be doing it for us. AI is not going to pay for your rent, right? Because it's going to pay the billionaires. It's not like they're taking our jobs and giving us the same money that we would have made anyway. They're just like, oh, screw you now. We don't need you anymore. Bye-bye. But it was supposed to be technology freed us to have leisure for everyone. But it doesn't. It only feeds the rich. The billionaires are taking our time, our hours, and when they don't need it anymore, when they have something else to do it that they don't have to pay as much for, they get rid of us. That's bull crap, okay? And that's what society does. And it's not just the billionaires, it's the governors, it's the kings, it's the senators, okay? It's Bill Paxton in Texas. Not personally, I don't know anything about the guy, but I know his role, and I know what role he plays on the news, in the newspapers, right? I know what he does on TV, It's not right. It's not the way it's designed. Okay, and the only reason that they can do that is because we play the game. We have to survive because there's so much of it, right? And we know that. We know that. I'm not saying that you can just tune in, turn on, and drop out. I mean, you can. You can go be homeless and do fentanyl if you want. It's a crappy life, right? The billionaires have made it so that you can't have your own good life. Not easily, But if you're willing to play the game a little bit or use your powers as a magician to tap into these forces of creation, you can turn yourself around too. You can make everything work for you. And when you start to create, you're projecting light into the world, and it automatically turns off the darkness, right? So when you're doing something, you're not suffering. And it's a process. I'm not saying any of this is easy, and you can just decide to start doing good things instead of bad things, or you could just automatically wake up one day and not be tied to your wage slave job anymore. It takes hard work to get out of it, to break free from that stuff. But getting to a position where you are actively creating your life, like I have. And each year it's getting better. So this is a thing. What started this whole conversation, actually I was talking to Nicole about this, was each year has to get better. You know what I mean? Like when things are when not necessarily, bad things happen and you get setbacks along the way in life. But in general, I feel like things need to be getting better. If you're doing it right, if you're having a good time with things. I focus on success, prosperity, and joy as a magician because it's fun. You know, it's positive. It's something we can do. It's ours. It's our birthright. You know, and there's enough negativity waiting to fill in the void. Okay, so I figured out that if we do stuff, if we project our light into the world, it fights back the darkness, not just for us, but for other people around us, right? So like, uh, there's so many different things we could be doing, right? And I don't want to, I don't know for sure how to really address all that. Let's see here. Homeless and fentanyl might be fun for a week or two. Yeah, I mean, it might be. Yeah. Looks like you were depressed, been there. Yeah, I was. I was depressed. Yeah, of course I was depressed. But it wasn't. It was. It's more than just depression. You know, it's not like just. Yeah, I mean, it's not like just chronic depression, because at the same time I was manic, hypomanic, and dealing with hypomania. It wasn't just the momentary emotions that I was talking about. I'm talking about like a core depression, like a core existential frustration with existence. I've managed to replace that with a kind of positive nihilism. You know, like none of it matters, nothing is real, all is permitted. You know, you do what you want, and you have a good time. You know, and I think that there's the only good ethics that people can get into are enlightened self-interest. You know, I think that when you do good, you do good because you know it is good, and you understand that good is good and why good is good. Not just that good is good because I say it's good and evil is obviously evil. No, there's reasons. You know, evil stuff is evil because it hurts. You know, you hurt your body and you die sooner. That's not good. You know, good is you incarnate to experience an existence, and it can be the existence that you want. And if your flavor is short, brief, and high intensity, great. You know, and you're gonna die quick, fine, whatever. You know, that's on purpose, yeah, but not like just at somebody else's bequest. I don't think so. Yeah. All right, let's see here. Nazgul hoodie is so comely. Yes, your Nazgul hoodie is quite comely. I'm not going to argue with that. And so here's the thing, right? So like I have a lot of friends who are happy not being active. You know what I mean? Like being active enough to participate so that they can enjoy their tea, right? Like the enjoyment of their tea is the point. That's fine. Right? I mean, like Uncle Ero is a great role model for that. Being able to be happy in your life on purpose, I think it requires doing it on purpose. You know what I mean? Like you have to actually be present on purpose. You know, doing the tea ceremony on purpose, to enjoy the jasmine on purpose because you want to enjoy it. You know, otherwise. I don't know. I feel like it's being shoved down your throat and it's not any fun. Yeah, existential crisis. Anyway, but yeah, that's basically. I think where are we at for time actually? Yeah. All right. Great. I've got another presentation to do here at 5. That's what I wanted to talk about today. It is important to do all those wonderful prosperity rites and stuff, but you got to know what the backstory is, right? Otherwise it sounds like you're just like, oh, everything's great all the time, it's toxic positivity and yay. It isn't like that. It's not. It's just holy crap, this world is dark and evil, but guess what, I'm still having a good time, not because I got mine and screw everybody else. It's because everybody can, and we all can, right? And it's just a matter of doing it if we want, right? So anyway, I've got to hop on for the next class here, and I'm going to take the dog out real quick. So have a